Hello, welcome to Kendu Film Studio. My name is Davy Liu and I'm the creator and the author of these books called Invisible Tales. I want to introduce you a little bit of my background. I was born in Taiwan, and when I was a kid growing up, boy, I was a D- kid. My parents tried with all of their might. They tried all different tutoring technique. They even invite the best tutoring, but yet I'm still a D- kid all throughout my elementary, junior high, and high school. I'm the youngest of 6. I have 4 sisters and 1 brother. Every day I would look at their achievement and their grades and compare to mine. I had extreme low self-esteem growing up. I mean, extremely low. So my dad always reminded me that you can do all things through Christ. That's how I got the company, Kendu Films. But as a kid, my mom thought maybe I could play piano just like all the Chinese kids, so I have to fit right in. So my mom invited the best piano teacher, came to our house, and of course I learned piano for 8 years. And unfortunately, still today, I can't play music. But I love to draw as a kid. I just love to draw. I remember sitting in a classroom as a kid in elementary school. I would draw robots and all those cartoons that I see in TV. But as a kid, drawing, it's just a dream. It's not a reality. So I came to America sometime in 1982, and I was 13 years old. I barely speak any English, and of course, all my class revolves, everything has to do with learning English. So of course, I have lots of time in my hands, so what did I do? I drew. I drew and I drew. Boy, I love art. So I had this wonderful teacher, her name is Miss King K, and she was my 8th grade art teacher. She discovered this Chinese kid come from Taiwan has extraordinary talent. So she would give me this all kinds of subjects and art homework to go home with. So of course, she was hopefully that I'll become a star. So she really took time and really paid attention and developed me at that time. Even though I kind of understood her with her English, with my broken Chinese, we did best we can, but we managed to understand each other. One time though, I did this drawings of this Chinese dragon, and months later it came back. It won top 20 in the whole United States. At that time, that was extremely surprising because I never won anything. Never anybody said I was good at anything. But this time, the principal of the school invited me to his office and congratulated me and saying, "You did a great job. You made our school really proud. And here is the certificate and a trophy that given by the American Art Association." Wow, that was a huge thing. I got this big golden key. And my parents thought maybe Davy does have a talent. So I always use this metaphor. I always say that in Taiwan there's a bunch of bees that just make straight A's. They're so smart. They're like worker bees. They're so well trained and so well disciplined, but I'm kind of odd. So my mom tried to make me fit in as a cricket so I can play music. But I wasn't any of those. I'm not a bee nor a cricket, but I am a firefly. I found out I have a gift that is one of a kind, that is unreplaceable. So I took that gift that God has given me and I just use it with all of my might. In college I would draw, and I did this drawings in college, and I would win awards on my own. So I told myself I'm going to be a great artist when I grow up. So I went to college, I studied art, and I studied traditional classical art for a long time, but I didn't know what to do at that time. But when I doing my graduation, there was this company called Walt Disney. They came to our school and they were looking for animators, and at that time I thought, okay, cartoons, I always love to draw cartoons. So I tried it, and boy, it took me 4 times because they're only looking for 8 kids every year. So I finally got in 1990. I went in there, started working on some of the film that you probably have seen. Beauty and the Beast, that was one of my favorite. And then to this really magical Aladdin. And then to this really cool story which we all know. It's just the Lion Kings, Mufasa and Simba. I love that story because we were inspired by the story of Joseph. And then also the story of Mulan. You guys seen some of Mulan characters. and someone saw the way I looked. They thought maybe Davy Lu could look one of like Mulan characters. So one of the animator kind of took my face and make a little change and turn me into this Mulan character you see on the screen here, General Shen. Boy, I was thrilled. I mean, as a kid, I was 24, 25, making great money, and I was living in my dreams. And I thought, wow, what a great life, you know, get to do what you love. But I remember 10 years ago wasn't so when I came from Taiwan. I was very, I didn't feel like I was anybody. I had low self-esteem, and but now 10 years later in America, I'm a different person. I thought how often and how unfortunate there's so many children out there that also struggle what I struggle in their childhood. I remember I do a lot of speaking in schools, and I remember one mother came to me after my speaking. She said, "Davy, thank you so much for coming. You inspired me and my son." She said she has a son named Brian, and this Brian has an older sister and a younger brother. And Brian loves to draw, but they go to private school, so therefore Brian's grade is always C average, but their brother and sister's always straight A. So Brian always feels like he's nobody and he's not as smart as their siblings. But after I came to school and spoke to them, and her mother heard that I call myself a firefly. After my speaking, she went and hugged Brian and said, "Brian, you're mommy's firefly." You know, maybe some people's life are lived to inspire so that many more children are not neglected. You know, when I was a kid, I was often compared to with my brother or my sisters, or maybe with next door's kids, how inadequate, how my grades are not sufficient, as good as them. But you know, life is so unique. Every child is one of a kind. They cannot be replaced, or they cannot be exchanged, because every kid has a talent that is so unique that we parents need to look at our kids like a treasure box. You know, we need to go find who they are and what they are made of and what they are made to do in this life. You know, a lot of parents, without thinking about it, often just say these kids are straight A, maybe they're just perfectly fit in Harvard, and just put them in a box. But unfortunately, a lot of kids are misplaced and they're not really discovered, and they're not living to their full potential. So after 10 years, after my last job full-time with ILM on Star Wars, I decided to start my own company, this Kendu Films. I thought maybe I need to make films and animated stories that could inspire the next generations. I thought about maybe create these books that has something that is bigger than them, that we all need something that's inside of us that's bigger than ourselves. So I created this first book here. It's called The Giant Leaf. I wanted these books to look very different, and the size to look very unique in the shape. I was inspired because I read the book of Genesis. I heard about these animals, how they found Noah's Ark. I thought maybe if I can write from the animal perspective, from the story that we all know so well, the Noah's Ark story. I started with this story as a script doing the Lion Kings. I wrote them as words. So 10 years later, I said, I need to turn them into a beautiful picture book so every kid can understand the story of a fox named Kendu. This Kendu's dream, he dreamed of this giant leaf was so big that one day, if he finds this giant leaf, he will be happy and he will be free. But his real life, he wasn't free at all. He was not happy because he was a slave for the dinosaurs. The dinosaur every day tells him, "Kendu, stop dreaming about this giant leaf of yours, you know? We will protect you from this animal eater out in the giant forest." Out in the giant forest, there's an animal eaters. He will eat every animal that comes to the path and eats all the trees. But Kendu says, I gotta take a giant leap of faith. He left dinosaurs and he went to the giant forest. He's looking for the biggest tree to find the giant leaf. On his way there, he met this really crazy monkey. This monkey says, "Hey, don't you dare touch the last bananas in my foot. I'm gonna eat it all by myself." Kendu says, "I'm not looking for no bananas. I'm looking for my giant leaf, my freedom and my happiness." But this monkey, Itzhak, says, "Hey, giant leaf. I also had a dream of a giant leaf. In there was all you could eat bananas. So Itzhak says, but don't you dare go into the animal eater's mouth. He's inside this giant forest, you know. He'll eat every animal that comes to his mouth. So Kendu says, I gotta take a giant leap of faith. So him and Monkey went to the giant forest, also met a koala bear. Koala bear also had a dream. She dreamed of her husband because her husbands were abducted by the animal eaters years ago. But last night, somehow she saw her husband again in the giant leaf. So three of them went to the giant forest and they saw this animal eater. His mouth is scary, his tongue is so long, and his belly is huge. He ate all this animal in the forest. But if this animal eaters is all that scary, now why is it that these animal 2 by 2 come in from all over the place going to his mouth? Just then the sky started to rumble. The rumble turned into a small little rain. Small little rain turned into a big puddle of water and became a giant puddle of flood. So three little friends, they say, maybe we need to find the animal eaters as our shelter to get away from this rain, and we'll go find our giant leaf later. When they went inside the animal eater's mouth though, they were surprised to find that the animal eater wasn't a scary place at all. As a matter of fact, the animal eater's mouth inside his belly is the best place, is the safest place, and is the happiest place. When it went inside, the monkey quickly found all you could eat bananas. And the koala bear quickly found her husband just like she had dreamed. But Kendu looked around. He couldn't find his giant leaf. He says, where is my giant leaf? So as he looked and looked and he looked to this corner, and he couldn't believe what he saw in his eyes. He found his name carved in wood, Kendu. Who would have believed the animal eater even knew his name, and even provided a beautiful fox named Rhea waiting for him. She said, you must be that handsome Kendu in my dream last night. Kendu says, I didn't dream of you, Rhea, but I dream of this giant leaf. In this giant leaf, I will be free and I will be happy. So one day they heard the water slowly subsided. So Kendu and his wife quickly jumped off the animal eater's belly. Kendu could not wait to go find his giant leaf. And as he did, he jumped off the animal eater's belly and he looked up from the bottom of the water with his wife. He couldn't believe he found animal eater's belly. It's that giant leaf of his dream. And he was free after all. Of course, you guys know the story. This story is the story of Noah's Ark. I found this in the book of Genesis, how the animal were called by God to come to Noah. How much true that is. You know that we are also called to come to Jesus, because Jesus, maybe Jesus is seen as an animal eater. I saw Jesus as an animal eater as a kid because Jesus would eat 10% of my allowance. But later on when I found out that when I grew up, he was my only savior, the safest, my shelter from the storm. This second book here, The Firefish, it's a story of these fish. They had this wonderful journey, and their journey, they met this fishes and monsters and turtles and dolphins and all these really weird animals. They don't believe in fin maker except these three little fish. Three little fish going through a life of trouble. All they learn how to do is trust the fin maker. One day they were being chased by the great white, and these three little fishes, let's all call on the fin maker for help. The dolphin, the crab, the seahorse will laugh at them. We don't believe in no fin maker. Are you kidding me? We believe in ourselves. I'm smart. I'm the dolphin. I'm strong. I'm the crab. I am magical. I'm the seahorse. Just then the great white heading toward them, the three of them says, we will call on the fin maker. They hold their fin together as they face the giant, their giant, and they said, dear fin maker, could you please hear our call? Could you please put good fish on one side and bad fish on the other? Just then the whole water rumbled and the whole water parted in two. And that's exactly when the Moses came and crossing the Red Sea. So this story is about how the fish experiencing the story of 10 Commandments from fish perspective. The third book here is The Royal Feast. The Royal Feast, I want to deal with how kids, they often look at their outward appearance, but they don't really value what's inside their character and their integrity. So here I use the lion perspective to talk about the story that we know so well of this prophet named Daniel. This little belt, he is an orphan, and his adopted parents is a porcupine. But the little lion belt knew that to be powerful and strong, he doesn't have the spike like the porcupine, but yet he needs to grow lots of hair and have big muscle. So how could he do that? So this journey talked about how this little belt eventually were captured by his bully friends, and soon he was taken to this royal palace. In there he met this King Nabu, and this King Nabu, the lion, says, "Bel, you think being a strong and powerful king is growing lots of hair and having a big chest?" King Nabu says, "Bel, to be a real lion, it's to have an integrity and a character of a king." I really would like to inspire the next generation using these stories and give them a good value as they grow up, so that one day when they're facing their life greatest challenge, that they always go back to the basic, is to remember who they are and how they were made. It's not what they have, what they accomplish, but it's exactly that God thinks that all kids are special and they are unique, and that they have a potential and they can do all things through Christ. The fourth book here is Jordan's Guest. Jordan's Guest talk about this little donkey named Jordan. Jordan sits out in the gate. Every day he hopes that he has a guest, that he could be a city guy, a tour guide. But everybody that comes to this town, they all want horses and camel. Nobody wants this little donkey with big ears and short. Goat and sheep and cow says, "You know, you have no purpose here. Look at me," the goat says. Goat says, "I give goat cheese." The lamb says, "I give whoa." And the cow says, "I give cow milk." Everybody brag about their right to be in the barn, except this Jordan. Jordan's only friend, though, it's only two little pig named Jen and Tiles. They're the only one who want to be their guests. So Jordan one day, hoping one day someone would pick him. And of course, one very special day, early in the morning, Jordan disappeared. That day that Jordan disappeared, also the little Benny, the lamb, was chosen this year to be the sacrificial lamb. Of course, this story talk about this Jordan, of course, bring a very special guest into this barn and had a very amazing parade. And Jordan's guest came and rescued his best friend Benny from the palace of smoke, which is the sacrificial altar. This talked about Jordan's guest became the ultimate animal sacrifice, and no more that they have to lose their sons to the wickedness and the sins of mankind. We have a very new book that's coming out. It's called Enchanted Tree. This one's talk about the animal, how they saw the book of Genesis, how animal discover the tree good and evil, and how they were tempted just like Eve. They want to discover that they truly, could they be powerful if they eat the fruit of good and evil. So I thank you again for you allow me to introduce you to these series. It's called Invisible Tales, and you may visit our website. It's kendufilms.org, or you can visit kendufilms.com. Either one of these, you can find our books, or you can go to your local bookstores or amazon.com. Thank you again. And we also have these books on DVD. They are animated with audio reading, kind of like looking at a little mini version of animated films. But these are not the ultimate animated film that we're going to produce in your local theaters. We're currently looking for funding to get these books made into a feature animated films. So we thank you again for supporting our Kendu Films ministry, and we are looking forward to your community or even to speak in your churches. And once again, my name is Davy Lu, and may you guys be blessed by the books and all the things that you are doing, and be a firefly if God called you to be a firefly. God bless you. Bye-bye.